From chaos to clarity, this is life beyond the line.
Hello and welcome to Life Beyond the Line, episode 17. Today I'm joined by Steve Devine, a qualified life coach. But before we start this episode and our chat, guys, also this week you've been treated to a special dropping on the same day to celebrate Sophie's 4 years, and also 2 of the tracks from my albums of my story. Head over to Spotify and YouTube to check them out, guys. As always, I appreciate the support. And today, like I said, we're joined by Steve Devine, qualified life coach, someone who I've met and connected with and have daily conversations with. And I've invited Steve on today because he mightn't be in recovery, but he's helping me daily. So I'm hoping that he can help one of my viewers. And if you are lucky enough to stay behind and watch, if you can take something from it, then we've done our job here. Good morning, Steve. Welcome.
Morning, Will. You okay?
Yeah. For the viewers, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Steve Devine. I'm 49 now. I'm getting old, aren't I? I was diagnosed with bipolar in 2019. Do you want me to sort of tell my story, or do you want me to just, as we go ahead, do that?
Who are you today?
Yeah, okay. So I was diagnosed with bipolar in 2019. Before that, I had a good 20 odd years. I was qualified as an accountant. Had a massive football club, worked for some Premier League clubs, luckily enough to do that. Always been around the community during them times. Crazy story of a life, to be honest with you. I started growing up as with my mum. There was no dad on the scene until I was about 12, and then we didn't have a great deal, but we had everything that I wanted, was just love and support from the family. My dad come about when I was 12, and he was my dad forever until he passed away just a couple of years ago. Good life. Did what everyone does, and got involved with smoking weed and stuff when I was about 14 or 15, and my first spliff on a school roof. That led on to dropping out of the top tiers at school and getting in with the wrong crowd potentially. Didn't do as well as I could have done in early life. Ended up going to raves and going to Club Kinetic on a Friday in Stoke, listening to the happy hardcore vibe back in the 90s, which was an amazing experience. Hard Docs on a Saturday, and that was the life for a good few years till I got to about 19 or 20, and then had a drug-induced psychosis, it was classified as at the time. Now, whether this was ever the first start of bipolar, I'll never know, but there was a lot of ecstasy and MDMA as it was back then, and doves were doves and parties were parties, and lived for the weekends really. Did a few different things job-wise, sold the first ever mobile phones and got the sales pitch from there. I think that's carried me through life. Went on to got sectioned at 19, to be honest, and then forget I was working in an insurance company at the time, doing like the admin, and walked off, went in one day just not feeling great, feeling paranoid and feeling like everyone was looking at me, and got sent out away from work and got on a bus. I thought the bus was recording me. I went home, I smashed all my sister's toys up, she was only little, because she could have thought there was radio transmitters and bugs in them that was recording everything that was happening. Surreal experience, because you detach from the reality and it becomes your reality. Got sectioned not long after that. It's a bit hazy and that, but I went to a place called Starrard House. Was there for a short time. Can't remember a great deal about it really, but I come out after a few months into the thing, and the diagnosis at that time was drug-induced psychosis. Went back into life, and went back to the party scene, the raves that I lived the weekends for, and ended up going again, I think at 21, 22. At this point I was doing a business and finance, BTEC in Southport College. Went to, from that to leaving to going to be a cleaner in Pontins, back on the scene every weekend partying, and you know, like I say, the drug of choice really was ecstasy, but it was a weekend thing, it wasn't really something we did all night in the week. There was a bit of weed and smoked and stuff, drinking and stuff. Lived in Pontins for 4 weeks, working as one of the maintenance guys, and actually got sacked for being late 3 times in the 4 weeks.
And you
just
lived
like
there.
living there. It was just a party, it was just 4 weeks of being lonely really in my head. Ended up going out of there and jumping in a caravan in the at the back of Pontins, just like pretty much living homeless, I suppose. I don't know, in my head there was the family to go back to, but in my head at that point I was going again without realising it, and jumped in this caravan, lived there for a few days, had a few more parties, got myself in a bit of trouble on the local dorm, and had a couple of arguments with him, and met a girl and had a bit of party with a couple of the girls that were there and stuff, and yeah, then ended up getting taken home. Come back to my mum's and continued the party for a few more weeks, and the weekends were coming and we go to places like Skegness and Fantasy Island and just have a little bit further afield. Yeah, ended up going again in about 21, 22 I think now. This time they put it down to hypomania. I don't really know whether it's a diagnosis as such, whether it even exists. Hypomania is a type of bipolar. It's like a milder level of bipolar. Back into hospital for a few months and come out of the hospital. Was put on a mood stabiliser at that time called lithium. Was come back out into a bit of a depression this time, and not really wanting to go out and see people, and being worried that I was being judged by people because of what had happened. And then come out of that really and started living a normal life. I say, you know, what is normal? It's always a good question, isn't it? But you know, I was retraining, I was doing an IT course, I was doing a business course and stuff like that. Got a placement at Sefton Council in the Parks and Gardens team, and just rebuilt from there really. Life was fantastic. I'd met a girl not long before that. We used to have Mad Mondays, to be honest with you, in the bar in town. There was an old guy who was a bit of a drinker, whether he was an alcoholic, I'm not sure now looking back on it, but he'd always take all these young ones to town on Mad Mondays. I'll never forget Don Wands being 80p a pint. We used to have a great time every Monday, and then met a couple, went through a few of the college really, who liked to play down with the ladies. There was no sort of regular partner on the scene then, and ended up meeting a girl, and then we started going out, and you know, it got a bit more serious. We moved in together. I had my son, who's to this day is still the most important thing in my life. And yeah, we built a good life. Like I say, qualified as a senior accountant, worked for the local government, still got headhunted from one position to the next, and then went on to the local government, becoming a housing association, progressed right the way up there from, you know, I think it was a financial reporting assistant to a financial reporting officer, to being in charge of the finance systems, to going on to working in the procurement teams, to becoming the supply chain manager for a massive multi-million pound arm that they had, to being touted as the next director. Life was good. The relationship with me and the missus was tolerable without really being what it should be, and it's only years later that I accepted. I think when I left I accepted, but the hardest thing that I couldn't accept was leaving my son and not waking up to him every day. When we were in that sort of thing of living together and stuff, I started getting into the kids' football when he was 4. I decided to be a dad who put his hand up to be the football coach. Probably looking back on it now, because of my hyper-focused mindset and my sort of drive, it couldn't just be one team. I ended up with 30 teams, 30 volunteers, 300 players, and you know, one of the biggest setups in Sefton really as a kids football club, and luckily enough, you know, it still runs today. Ended up working at Man City first of all, and Blackburn and the recruitment and doing a bit of coaching, and then ended up at Liverpool and did 4 years in the end. I think it was about 3 or 4 years as the area manager for Sefton. So, you know, I got quite good in the kids' football, and I do it again now, to be honest. I'm back on my stepson and is on under 16, which is going well, and I'm back on one of my happy places, you know, coaching them kids and teaching them to become young adults and better adults and good footballers. So yeah, that was the sort of 20 odd years then, and then I think it was 2019, I went to the Champions League final. My son was 14 at the time. Now, we had 5 days, sorry, I missed the chapter out there. Obviously growing up through that time, I started going to the Liverpool matches as well before I started being a football coach. Before that, I started playing Texas Hold'em poker, which is where we both shared a good passion. Played poker for years, about 15 years, loved it. You know, Friday nights in Blackpool, good mate John Garside used to take me under his wing and get me into the casinos when I was young, 20-something year old, and teach me to stay away from the tables and the gamble and all that sort of stuff that can go on with roulette and blackjack and stuff, and I just played poker. Loved it. Got into the kids' football and then sort of stayed away from the poker a little bit because football consumed me then, and you know, the early mornings didn't time the late night pokers and stuff and doing the kids' footy, so stepped away from the poker a while, did the football for years. Started getting into going to Liverpool matches yet again. I think I first had my season ticket when I was about 18, and then I started going to away games, getting 4 tickets from me and the lads in the away games, and the thing was then that I'll never forget it, we went to Fulham away, tasting my first line of cocaine at Fulham away, and got into the habit of the cocaine meant you could drink longer and you know, you could party more. It then got to the point where every time we get on the coach there'd be a bag of cocaine off one of the lads. Then I started buying it myself. And listen, I know what you're probably, but for me it was always just the weekends that were the sort of thing, and I suppose I have got a terribly addictive personality. What I've done with the kids' footy, what I've done with the poker, what I've done with everything that I do really. But the buzz of the weekend was to get as high as you could for as long as possible to enjoy yourself. So then it went from just being the away matches to when we were going out, we'd have a drink and we'd have a bag of coke. The coke meant you could drink for longer, you could enjoy yourself for longer. For me, that was the sort of thing. I know when we talk about addiction, and you know, you hear stories from some of the recovery groups and stuff about people sort of sitting in the bedrooms and sniffing or rejecting or whatever else. It was never to that limit. To me, it was always just a weekend, just a party scene. And there's a lot of people now today who never consider themselves to be addicts because they just party the weekends. But I suppose that's all down to mindset, isn't it? You know, you've still got that need to the weekend to go and get on it. That you're out with that circle of friends and that mates and let's do it, you know what I mean? So yeah, so it ended up going to the point where I was going out on a Friday, and it wasn't every week, to be honest. Sometimes it was every fortnight, sometimes it was every month. But when I went out, I was last man standing all the time. Even before I started taking the cocaine, I was still last man standing. And then it was, yeah, so then that become the norm, then if you like. Got to 2019, obviously heavily involved in the kids' football at this point, but still going out the week when I was going out and you know, having a party and just being that party and a loud fucking, and you know that I'm a loud bloody extrovert, I'm sitting down an introvert. And then got to 2019, went to Benidorm 5 days, my son was 14 at the time, was with me. We got there, we got on, met a guy who I'd known through the kids' football on the bus, and we went out, we sort of got pissed and started, someone had a bag of coke, and that was it then. And then for the next 5 days we just lit the party in Benidorm, Champions League final, everything's great, everything's high, you know, everything's going really good, and I'm getting on it, and he's saying, my son's there, and he's saying to me, no dad, you shouldn't be taking that. And I'm like, oh, it's alright, so I won't be doing it when I get home and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, reality, unbeknownst to me then, I was going on a bipolar high for the first ever time. So the energy from a bipolar high and the sort of fuel with the cocaine and the drinking and the party environment of being in Benidorm was just crazy, and it was just a mad 5 days. I look back on it now. I met people now who know are doing great things in the sort of wellness environment who were on that holiday with me, to be honest, and I'm not going to name any names, but they've tasted that same buzz. You know, at that point to come home from Benidorm, obviously when the party died down, and I realised that it was how bad it'd been and what I'd done. So the high become a low, which is the standard format of bipolar. You know, when you go high, you then go low. Undiagnosed at this point, didn't know what was happening, just felt this fear and anxiety and hatred of myself for what I'd done. Never forget taking the dog for a walk in the local park where we were living, and just didn't want to be here anymore. Darkest feeling ever, and just getting back in the house, taking all the metrazepam the doctor had given me, taking all the Zoplicone the doctor had given me, necking it down with a bottle of Jack Daniels, sending 2 texts, one to my partner at the time, one to my mum, just saying I don't want to be here anymore. She then phoned me and said, "Don't be stupid, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I've already done it." Unbeknownst to me, my son was listening on the phone, asking what was going on. I collapsed. I was on the couch asleep, but overdosed, and he heard her. Apparently he jumped off the bus, run all the way home, jumped the fence, and found me. And that was the start of bipolar. Hospital the next day, coming out of hospital and just still not wanting to be there, just feeling awful. Anyway, time passed on, and I started to recover and felt really down for a long time, just lifeless. Depression's a horrible thing. Started to come out of it, I did start coming out of it. I started to feel better. Being through all the hospital appointments, psychiatrist, getting the diagnosis. Unfortunately, my partner at the time, she couldn't, for whatever reason, come with me to these things. It told me everything that I needed to know, unfortunately, that there was no relationship. There was us and Kieran. And I'll never sort of badmouth for giving it my son, but I think we both in reality knew that we were just putting up with each other for the sake of normality, if you like, which was never the right way. Went outside on my own, my mum went with me, we couldn't go. Got the diagnosis of bipolar, and then left, got medication off them and stuff, and whatever else, left here in the end. I can't remember exactly the date or whatever happened, but left her with a bag of clothes, left her the entire house, just left the bag of clothes and went to live with me now. Ended up going high for my first ever bipolar high, if you like, apart from Benidorm. Not long after that, and got sectioned. Being on a night out somewhere, blah blah blah, pissed, high, with the bipolar, no drugs at this point, and woke up in the A&E the next, went back to my mum's. She phoned the paramedics, and the paramedics come and said, "We think you need to come with us to hospital." And I was like, "Why?" "Well, we don't think you're well." I said, "Fuck all wrong with me?" I said, "I was in a boozer an hour ago, I was just having a party, and I got a phone call saying my dad had heart complaints, and there's nothing wrong with me." In your head, you see, when you go bipolar, to you everything's fine.
Tells you you're okay.
Yeah, just the people around you sort of don't realise that. So, anyway, we wakes up this next morning, the bloody A&E waiting to be assessed by the mental health team, hungover to death. At this point, looking back at it now, it was never right anyway, but all I was obsessing with was my son getting to his football match on the Saturday morning and me getting to watch him. They wouldn't let me out of the, in the end they let me out of the A&E, and I got there as the game had finished. And there was one of the parents who was a mental health nurse, and he said to the man, he's not right, he's not well, there's something wrong there, you know what I mean? So anyway, went back into the A&E after it and ended up getting assessed by the mental health team. And because you can put a front on and a face when you've got mental health problems, it looked like it was okay. They told me I could leave. I said, my mum's worried, I want to wait to see the psychiatrist before I leave. And the psychiatrist, when they detained me a bit longer in the A&E, and well, I suppose I wasn't detained, but they then sort of watched me appearance, watch what was going on. I was going around meditating with people and telling them that I was, I was here to help them, and if they did this, they'd feel better. And there's people dying in fucking hospital beds, and I'm saying this to them, because in my head, this is okay.
You believe it, yeah?
Yeah, this is reality. Anyway, psychiatrist come to see me, assess me, told me I need to be detained under the Mental Health Act. Sitting in the chair, and never forget this, and this is where the police are cunts at times. I'm sitting in this chair, there's two policemen, a girl and a young lad. The young lad slaps the cuffs on me because I won't leave the chair. Now, rather than him talking me down and putting the cuffs on in a nice way, he slapped them on so he knew it was going to hurt me. So I ended up with big bruises all over my arms. And then forgetting the girl, I said, I'll go in the car, but he's not coming with us, you come with me. And the girl was dead nice. So she come in the car with us, and we ended up going to the old Southport Hospital, I think what it's called now, the new one's called Harley. I don't know what the old one was, and there I was, and then experienced this first sort of environment of being detained under the Mental Health Act, and it was crazy. I was just in my head, everything was alright, I was fine, you know what I mean, there was no issues with it, there was, I was the boss, I was the controller in the ward, I was the one that was, no one was going to mess with, and I think you become that alpha male sometimes when you're in that environment. I certainly do. Anyway, ended up talking to a girl in there who was single at the time, obviously, telling her I was going to take her for lunch, and they took that as me being derogatory to the woman, and moved me from there. About three of them grabbed me in the car, took me to, what was the next place we went? Took me to Clockview, I think. I went to Clockview, and at this point I was going high, and it was like, I was in this solitary confinement thing for the day and come out and blah blah blah. And that was 2019, and then ended up in there for a few months, come out into possibly the worst depression that I've ever experienced in my life. It was during COVID, I think 2019, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was,
start of it, wasn't it?
Yeah. So come out of there, I was 18 months in depression. And when I say depression, I didn't want to leave the house, I didn't switch my phone on, I didn't want to speak to anyone because it was just me. It was, my life was over, I was done. I was never coming back from that, you know what I mean? I wasn't worth it, and let everyone down. Everything that I'd done to 2019, all the good things with the kids' footy and everything else, it was irrelevant because I was this waste of space and this human failure that couldn't help anyone else. Come out of that 18 months depression, Christ, it must have been the end of 21, 22. Started getting back on my feet, went to the races with a mate, started having a good time and all that. Started at that point really sort of studying and wanting to self-improve when I come out of that depression. It was like as though there'd been a sort of a sign, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but from the universe to say, I've brought you to this point for a reason, now it's up to you what you do next. Started studying self-development books and read the Secret and the Law of Attraction, which I've lived since that point. Read the 5 AM Club, so these are all psychology books, the Chimp Paradox, Carol Dweck's Mindset, all these other things that on top of the sort of coaching, albeit only with kids, will sort of develop me onto a new path away from the sort of accountancy, away from the 9 to 5 and all that sort of stuff. Got into meditation more and more, and people who don't meditate or don't sort of appreciate that spirituality side of things don't really understand and grasp what it can do for you. And what it does do, no matter what you look at it balances your mind, and it sort of keeps you onto a more appreciative level of life. So all that was going on. Now I was reading The Secret, smoking 2 grams of weed a day in the back garden at this point. I think that the weeds bring me closer to spirituality, and in reality it was bringing me closer to psychosis.
Yeah.
So 22's, I've got all these 20-something-year-olds around the flat. My nan's not there, she's in hospital, she's not well. They're all coming round and we're all just smoking and drinking vodka and having a good time, you know what I mean? In my head it was. Champions League fan, started going to old school raves again, which were like reunion groups. I started going to them sober, then I started going to with a couple of edibles for the weed, and then I went to one in Leeds and had 2 half tablets, thinking that I could control just the 2 half tablets and that wouldn't affect me because it's only a small quantity. And then went to one in Liverpool, met a gangster from London, top fella, well, here's what he is. And he gave me 9 ecstasy tablets that night, free, just out of this bag. He had all tested, all super strong, stronger than anything else in the rave. And I probably took 7 or 8 of them myself and passed, probably even more than 9, I was passing all those around to other people. I had the best night of my life. Don't get me wrong, I had the absolute best night of my life. Met a girl from Highton, we won't say what happened there, but we had fun. Got to about a week later, and decided I was starting getting £25,000 business loans out to set up businesses that had no context on. In my head they did. You know, it was just a million miles an hour doing all kinds of different things, and bang, there we go again. Drug-induced psychosis with a bipolar high this time. So this is dual stuff. This is like, wow, you know, this is massive. And I think in 2019 it probably was the same. Back into hospital. At this point before hospital, I go to the A&E to have the assessment, and I'm thinking I'm the biggest businessman in Liverpool. I've already phoned my mate a few days before to tell him I bought Liverpool Football Club, and he's going to come in and he's going to be in charge of the recruitment for me. I've got pictures and images still on my phone, some crazy footage to be honest. There's a picture of me with my arms open like this, with a D-square hat on, and a t-shirt, tanned to death, just as though to say, this is me. And that's what I always look back at the picture and go, this is what I thought at this point. There's no higher feeling than this. I am next to the Lord almost at this point, you know what I mean? In reality, obviously it wasn't, but there's a video footage of me doing, like interviewing myself, saying, I know what you're doing, you close down all my social media, I know there's going to be a massive press launch, because this was me being unveiled to the world, and it's like fucking hell. But this sort of chaos of bipolar and drug-induced psychosis, and even without drug-induced psychosis, bipolar is still the craziest feeling in the world. So went from, got assessed again there. Also noticed that the start of that was, we had a 2-day bender in the flat, and it was the Queen's Jubilee. Was it the Queen's Jubilee, 22?
I'm not a royalist.
No, me
couldn't
neither.
tell you.
It just sticks with me, man, because my sister was getting married in Greece that weekend, and I was supposed to be going. No, I'm going high a week before this, with no thoughts about my sister and getting married. There's nothing you can really do about it anyway. But I remember having the lads round, snorting Zoplicone on the table the night before, because I didn't take drugs, but that was the substitute for all I'm doing the cocaine around me. I was strong enough after 2019 to never touch cocaine again, and to this day forward I still haven't and never will. But I thought that was okay. And it wasn't, it was just a substitute. But I woke up this morning just thinking, wow, put the rave tunes on, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, the neighbours will tell you all about it. Raving around, come outside, threw all the bins round, goes to the A&E, gets assessed, leaves the A&E, comes back again, punches a doctor this time, leaves again. The second time I left, he sent the police, and there was 16 police cars around our green. I'd say, well, maybe a bit exaggeration, there's probably about 5 or 6 police cars around our green, with loads of police, psychiatric teams, all these people. I've got 16 police women, or 8 or 9 police women, sitting down in a circle with the police fellas, while I'm rolling rollies and teaching them all to meditate. This is like, this is the reality. Oh man, fucking honest to God. So, yeah, that was a crazy experience. Went into hospital, 4 months I think this time in hospital. Come out, while I was in hospital, started getting heavily involved in the psychology team, to the point where I was leading the sessions for the psychologist, even being a patient, taking them through guided meditations and things like that. And my grandma died while I was in there in 22, and I'll never forget the night. I was drinking coffee all night, I was listening to happy hardcore music, Stu Allen 1995, happy hardcore the whole night. And something happened to me that night. They let me come out to see me nan. They took him there for me to see me nan. But that night was almost like a turning point or something. It's definitely something to do with what happened with me nan when she died, and that sort of spirit coming to visit me or whatever had happened. The next day, despite not sleeping, I did a presentation in front of the psychology group on my journey in my life. And this, in it I said, and I'm going to limit the amount of drugs that I take going forward when I go up for a party. And this one guy, Michael, who tried to throw himself off a high-storey building because life was too much for him. Proper geezer, scally, not a scally, but a nice lad, knew all the boys in town and all that. And he said to me, if you know what causes the problem, why don't you stop? That was the last point that I ever took a drug, that I ever... not that I ever drank, because I choose if I want to drink or not. I've drank twice since 2022. 4 pints at the races last Friday and once at the Charity Shield. And I hated the feeling of the Charity Shield and won't do it again, because I don't like the hangover. I don't like the state it puts you in, making a twat of yourself and embarrassing yourself in front of people. So I don't want to put myself in that situation. The 4 pints of Guinness was okay, because it was just what I wanted to do, not what I had to do, you know what I mean? So anyway, I come out then, and life changed. I unfortunately dropped into depression again for 6 months. But when I come out of the 6 months depression that time, I was engaging with some sort of recovery groups, because in my head I was an addict. In reality, I'd say I was socially addicted, without sort of ever having to chase that constant feeling. I engaged with CGL, which I don't know if I can name them actually, but I have to know. And yeah, I was going to these, I was going to these recovery groups thinking I was going to help me, but in reality I was going to help them. I was going to listen to their stories and not befriend people, but pick people who've been through similar experiences to me and go, we can help each other. And I think that's what these recovery groups definitely do. It's all well and good saying I'm qualified as a psychologist or I'm qualified as a this or that. If you haven't actually walked them shoes, it's a different story for me. How can you help someone when you just read it from a textbook? So that was that back after the depression 22 and started the self-development and everything else. Got to 23, qualified as a life coach, had about 30 clients that was life coaching voluntary, because at that point I didn't believe that there should be any financial gain from it. But I think in reality you've always got to earn your wages. Those 30 people were great, it was all going well, there was no issues. I wasn't drinking, I wasn't taking any drugs, there was none of that at all. I met my partner now, Michelle, absolute diamond of a woman, and just the difference from the last to this one. I was flying with business, I was doing a couple of businesses with a business partner. We were doing a Forex trading academy with a big trader in Liverpool. We were doing Eco4, government grants. Everything was going well. Had a couple of other things going on. And life was fantastic. I met this fantastic girl. Everything was great. I decided in the December of 23 that the medication was on was too much and it was making me feel tired. So I reduced it off my own back without telling anyone by 50%. Within 4 weeks, I was high as a kite. And I was sectioned again, to be honest with you. Boxing Day, December 23. And this time I was the best life coach in the world. This time I was next to God. When it comes to helping people, no one could help people better than I could. Part reality, there's a bit of that that's real. Obviously I think I'm good at what I do now, but they were making a film about me. I was the star of this film. In my head was going on, it wasn't. I went to Clockview first of all, smashed some fella in the face who come to challenge me. They moved me out of there because I worked there at the time, so I had gone in to Clockview then as an expert by experience. Friends, I was working with the psychology team, delivering sessions, and we talk about that. If you don't really understand what you've been through, how can they teach you? The first session I went to, there was 3 people at it. The second one was 16, because the patients had all heard that I was there and I'd walk their shoes, you know what I mean? And then, so I ended up going Clockview to Southport, from Southport to Runcorn, from Runcorn to Broadock, from Broadock back to Clockview. The biggest time I've ever been in hospital was 6 months. Absolute chaos. I was flying. There was no way I was well to come out, but in my head, why am I in here? There's nothing wrong with me, you know what I mean? And then, at this point, Michelle had only been on the scene for 6 months. Stood by me through this next 6 months of chaos. Come out, 12 months of depression this time. Lying in bed till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, not being able to get out of bed because it wasn't worth living. I wasn't showering some days. I was buying myself £5 t-shirts because I didn't believe I deserved any more. It was chaos really, and despite all these good things I've done to this point, when you're in them environments and those mindsets, it's just so horrible. So anyway, come back down from that, and the story is today that I'm back on my feet, but I've been in the best position I've ever been in. I've got the best partner I could ever wish for. I've got 2 lovely stepkids. My son's doing well for himself. My family's around me. Business is good. I'm in the process of setting up my own life coaching company called Step by Step, which is in the process now. I'm back playing poker again. I'm back doing the kids' footy. I'm doing everything that I wanted to do. But this
But
time,
at a healthy level.
Yeah, at a very healthy level. I think we've talked about this ourselves. I got to the point with the poker the other week where I was playing 4 and 5 times in a week, and I was like, this is not right. This is getting too much, you know what I mean? And not from a financial impact, but more from a balanced impact. Because as you know, cross addiction is quite sort of thingy, and chasing, because I don't drink, because I don't take drugs, playing poker gives you the dopamine hit that everyone craves. And listen, if I'm a single man, I play 6 nights a week, but if I'm not, then the reality is I'm not, and I've got a fantastic partner that I don't want to sort of abuse really and take the piss out of. She supports me in everything I do. She'll never sort of moan at me for doing anything if she thinks it's going to benefit me, but you like you said, the healthy levels the key, isn't it?
Steve, I know it's a powerful story. I enjoyed it. A bit hard to listen at times, but I think what you've done there is not what I want, but what I want to get across is to show that it's not just recovery, people in recovery that go through hard times, and there is a mental health aspect to life, and like the bipolar and your part in, he was buying Liverpool Football Club on a high.
I must have been mad.
No, I'm a Liverpool fan if he wants to buy it, but no, seriously though, you've just demonstrated how high you can go to how low you can go. And I know you today, I've not known you long, but I see you, we speak daily, and you speak sense, you help me throughout the day, and daily connection is important as well. Whether I'm suffering with addiction, you're suffering with mental health, that daily connection with, I'm not going to say like-minded people, but people that can have walked the walk and done the talk, life experience, isn't it, that you touched on. You got emotional saying that when your son found you, and what's your relationship like with your son today?
It's good. it's not day to day. I mean, he's just sat down and bedded home now, so I know exactly what he's going to do. It's the first time he's been back to bed since 2019. He's 21. He's in that party circle that we were all in when we were 21.
My daughter's in the exact same cycle now, 21.
It's hard because you know what the mistakes you make, and you just hope they don't make the same ones.
But we can't control them, can we?
We can't. We've got to let them grow up. We can feed a little bit of information to them and hope that they listen. But you know, and I know that you can do what you do, I can do what I do. The hardest person to do it with is your own.
Yeah.
They don't listen. Do you know what I mean?
They rebel against us, don't they?
Yeah.
Steve, I think that's going to help a lot of people, and I look forward to sharing life with you today, mate, talking daily connection. Really, really hard story, and I know that's the first time you've shared this, so well done. I know it's hard for you. That's why I'm letting you vape on me camera.
These aren't good for you either.
The algorithm will block that. But no, guys, we're almost out of time. I'm just going to ask Steve in a quick 30 seconds to pass a message to anyone that's suffering quietly, alone, that you're not alone. Would you like to give a quick message?
I think the quick message, guys, is I struggled for 2 years with the diagnosis. I thought I was weak in being mentally ill. But bipolar and any other mental illness and any addiction, anything else isn't a weakness. Harnessed in the right way, it can become a superpower. And talking out is the first step to recovery. And if you ever need to speak to someone, there's loads and loads and loads of places to obviously to jump to and to get the help. Obviously Will's sort of sharing his stories at here to help people. So am I. If anyone wants to drop me an inbox and to any of my socials, that feel free to. And I know Will's exactly the same. And if we can't help you directly, then we'll certainly post it into the people who can. But yeah, I think it's, don't be ashamed. Ashamed kill people. One of the kids who run the football team, one of the lads who run the football team with me, ended up taking his own life because he was too proud, I think, to speak out. Don't be that person.
Absolutely.
It does get better.
Absolutely, Steve. Steve's just touched on it, guys. Don't be ashamed. Do not suffer in silence. I did for certainly the last 5 years, to where it took me wanting to take my own life. Steve's just shared. Once you reach out and connect and admit that you've got a problem, there is a solution, and that's what Life Beyond the Line's about. Sharing everyday struggles, whether it be mental health, whether it be gambling, whether it be porn, whatever addiction or problem you're facing, there is help out there. Reach out. Guys, as always, I respect the followers, the support, the comments. If you do watch and you stay this long and you think you've got a story, whether you be in recovery, whether you be in mental health treatment, whether you're a family member and you'd like to come on and share the story from the opposite side of the fence, drop me a DM. I would love to sit and have a conversation with you. Again, as always, big love.